Hello and welcome to the Zach Ratliff Show. I'm Zach. This is Jerry Rochelle. Before we get going, let me thank my sponsors, Mortgage Financial here in Texarkana, Elmwood Custom Goods. As you can see the sign behind me, they made that. And then Church on the Rock, Texarkana. That's churchontherock.org. Without them, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. And then, of course, we have private sponsors and donors that have made this happen, and I appreciate them. All right, Jerry, welcome. Hello, how are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. I do appreciate the opportunity to address your audience and to address the voters in Bowie County. Let them know where I stand and what I'm about. Because a lot of people don't know what a district attorney or a criminal district attorney, in my case, actually does.
Right, and that's exactly right. So what's amazed me about this show, Jerry, is 49% of my viewing audience is here. And then we've got Ohio, North Carolina, we're in 26 states. So I'm gonna fill them in on what we're doing here on the local side of it. There's going to be an election for the Bowie County District Attorney, which you are currently the Bowie County District Attorney.
That is correct.
And so just we had Kelly in last week, got a lot of response off of her videos. And so just going to want to make sure we have both sides on here to make sure everything's fair and flush everything out. So how long have you been in the district attorney spot?
I was elected in 2010. I took office. I was sworn in 2011. It was my honor and a privilege, and I'm awfully humbled to serve as the district attorney. I've been doing it since 2011. I'm looking forward to doing it another term, good Lord willing, and with the voters' permission, basically. I was in the district attorney's office before that from '07. Was appointed first assistant in '09. I ran in 2010, and here we are, 15 years later. Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, a little background. You mentioned you went to Texas High here in Texarkana, so you're a hometown boy.
Yeah, yes, sir. Born, my whole life here in Bowie County, 5 generations deep. My father's family, my mother's family, my wife's family have, it's generational roots that we've put down in Bowie County. I went to Pleasant Grove elementary and middle school. Back then, we didn't have a high school in Pleasant Grove, so we were bused to Texas High to finish our high school education. Then went, off to college. As fortunate as some of us were to have that opportunity.
Right.
Got out of college, moved back for a bit, worked in kind of a side legal business, the title company, which you know about, being in the real estate business, researching titles. I gained fondness and familiarity with the law, so decided, hey, it's time to go to law school. If I was privileged enough to be able to get in, of course, I took the LSAT, did well on the LSAT, got into law school. But my heart was always in Texarkana, always in Bowie County.
Right. Well, that's good. So then go through law school, then you serve as the first assistant in the district attorney's office. So then you get in. For those that maybe didn't hear the other interview or weren't paying attention, or even like me, that I just have a base knowledge of it, right? I don't understand all of the inner workings of it. So what is the function of the district attorney's office? Maybe would be the way to frame that question.
I took an oath when I took office. I took an oath when I became an assistant, and actually I became an assistant initially right out of law school in 1990 under then District Attorney John Miller, who subsequently became a judge.
Yeah.
Then Leon Pesic, who subsequently became a judge. Yeah. And then Bobby Lockhart, who subsequently became a judge.
Right.
The DA's office, I took an oath as an assistant. I took an oath when I was elected. I renew that oath every 4 years that I will uphold the Constitution of the state of Texas and of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I also do not seek convictions. I do not seek numbers. I do not seek to send somebody to prison. I seek justice. And the oath I took was, it's almost like a do no harm with doctors, except it's seek the truth and seek justice. And I've dedicated over half my legal career to public service and to seeking out truth and to trying to do my best to obtain justice for those who need the criminal justice system.
Right. It's kind of like one of those things. We are all, everybody listening is benefited by a district attorney, whether they're here in Bowie County or wherever they're listening to us from. If they're in this country and there's a district attorney that is benefiting them, whether they know it or not.
Yes, it's a necessary position without a doubt. I personally, since I have been DA, have reviewed, if I'm in the office, I've reviewed every arrest. I've reviewed every case file. I've reviewed each felony arrest. I've reviewed the probable cause affidavit, the evidence that's attached initially when that case first is delivered to the DA's office, and make a determination as to whether or not we accept it, whether or not we proceed forward, whether or not we prosecute that individual, and if so, for exactly what charge.
So you're touching every case that comes through the office.
Yes.
Okay. And then what you decide to go after as far as charges or whatever, that's coming from you.
Yes, sir. Well, they're originally arrested on what's called a probable cause affidavit,
Okay.
which is shows a judge or magistrate the probable cause that exists to issue a warrant.
Okay.
And then the warrant's issued, the individual's arrested unless the offense is committed in the officer's presence, then a different set of rules comes into play. But once that individual's arrested, I review the probable cause affidavit, I'll look at the evidence. If, we can either accept the charges as is, we can accept a lesser included charge, which sometimes that's what the evidence shows, or we can even enhance to a greater degree of felony or a higher degree of misdemeanor.
Okay. And so then you're having to see this. But on top of that, there's a lot more to this also kind of what we were talking about off air, and I don't know how much we get into, but you're overseeing a lot of moving parts in the gears that make this office work.
I think that I've done a really exceptional job. We've advanced technology that we use in the office and in the courtroom. I've added additional investigators to our staff to assist with each individual court. I service three district courts: the 102nd Judicial District, the 202nd Judicial District, the 5th Judicial District, and also a county court at law. Not to mention various justice of the peace courts.
Okay.
We handle CPS, which is Child Protective Services.
Right.
We represent the state in those cases, and we also handle juvenile offenders,
Okay.
which is a separate docket, if you will.
Right.
But yeah, I miss the days when all I had to worry about was one docket, one court, one set of cases that I could focus on, and just seek justice for those individuals that were assigned to that court. Now, I can ensure that justice is not only for that docket, but all three dockets, all cases that are currently pending, all the victims that are coming in front of these courts. And a lot of times, this is their first experience with the criminal justice system. It's easy for prosecutors sometimes to kind of get caught up in the numbers and kind of forget at times. Now, I'm not saying that it happens in our jurisdiction, but it's easy for us to say, well, that case isn't set for trial till 2026, so I'm going to put it off till 2026. Whereas those victims are want some answers now.
Right. Yeah, they're still the victim, even if they have to wait.
Yes, and the old saying about justice delayed is justice denied. Well, I disagree with that wholeheartedly because, unfortunately, we're a smaller jurisdiction. We've got a limited number of courts. We've got a limited number of court personnel. We've got a limited number of assistant district attorneys, staff, our court administrators, our investigators.
Right.
And, with us being right here on the I-30, 59, I-49 corridor, I mean, we get a lot of pass-through, I would say clientele. It's cases that, if a routine traffic stop turns into a drug offense or a kidnapping or
Right. It's coming out of South Texas up the east side. It's coming through here.
Oh, yes.
I mean, you're getting drugs, people, all kinds of stuff coming through.
And, the rule of thumb is if it's traveling north, you're looking at drugs. If it's traveling south, you're looking at money. So that's how a lot of the interdiction works, and how they can focus on their efforts to stop the flow of drugs or to cripple the infrastructure of these cartels by cutting off their supply of cash.
I guess I never thought about that. If the drugs come up, the money has to come back
Oh,
in.
yes, yes, and they're in positions where they don't count it out, bill at a time, they weigh it.
Right.
That's how they count their money. And so they're moving vast quantities of narcotics, unfortunately. And, there's only so much we can do. A lot of these, I've seen a lot of these cases where they're running decoy vehicles, which they intentionally get stopped with a small amount of dope in that vehicle because, the four vehicles behind them have tens, if not hundreds of pounds of illegal narcotics in them, but we can only stop one vehicle at a time.
Right.
And they have been doing this a long time. I've seen them put narcotics in round bales that makes it look like they're moving
Isn't that right?
agricultural product. And I've seen them paint up a school bus and have mannequins in the seats that look like children. And I've seen them use emergency vehicles, whether it's fire trucks or ambulances that they paint. They look legitimate. They just cross over state lines, they cross over county lines, and nobody really pays them much attention.
It's just wild. So that's why you need somebody in the DA, in the DA's office that understands all of the different levers that are happening and can also manage what the what's happening in our county and in our local area. Because with that coming from the outside, you still get a load coming from just here in Bowie County.
Oh yes, I've given speeches all over the county where people are like, "Well, why is crime seem like it's you're doing everything you can, but it's not really stemming the problem?" And 85 to 90% of our crimes in Bowie County, there are the crimes of passion, of course. There's the shoplifting cases, but most of these cases are related to narcotics, whether it's trafficking, whether it's stealing your things to sell where they can buy drugs, breaking into your home to steal your things, assaulting you to take your things. I mean, so many of these cases revolve around narcotics and either possessing it, distributing it, cooking it, or using it to the point where it's well past an epidemic stage. And we're doing everything we can to stop it, but
Right.
the end user is our problem.
Yeah.
It's the supply and demand theory.
One question when people heard that you were coming on here, they sent me a few questions, which I probably want to ask most of them. But one of them was, what's a crime that we wouldn't expect that you guys have to deal with on a regular basis? And I don't know how much you go into that.
Oh my goodness, we deal with everything from capital murder, human trafficking, sexual assault of both adults and children, unfortunately. But something that we deal with a lot of juvenile issues. I really can't think of anything that's out of the ordinary, right off the top of my head. I'm sure there's a ton of them.
Well, and just the capital murder, that's crazy that we deal with that here because we all think of ourselves as in a local community where if you don't know the guy next door, you know somebody that knows him. And so it's hard to believe that that would be here. One thing that was said to me is I asked the question not too long ago to somebody, I'm like, why don't we have, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but why, my point was, I'm for capital punishment of child predators once they've gone through the system and been found guilty. And somebody pointed out to me, like, yeah, but then you're putting lives of the children that ever come forward in danger. And I've never looked at it that way because, that was just their thought was,
Right.
now this person has a reason to silence them.
Well, and unfortunately, when it gets, and I'm with you, I believe in the three-strike rule. I believe in the one-strike rule. Actually, I've sworn to uphold the law as it's written by these people down in Austin. I've often said we need to get some calmer individuals in Austin to write some of these laws. But that being said, I can only do so much under the current legal system under the penal code. But I know at one time Texas had the three strikes rule with regards to pedophiles. It didn't pass United States Supreme Court muster. They said it's unconstitutional. I know that now Louisiana and I believe Arkansas now have actually passed similar laws, and we're watching those closely to see, well, if it can go in Louisiana or Arkansas, maybe we can move it over to Texas.
Right.
Pedophilia is something that has been proven through research time and time again. It can't be cured.
No.
It's incurable. The recidivism rate, which means the likelihood that they're going to, if and when they get out of prison, they're going to reoffend, which means they're going to go out and target another child and victimize another child. Well, that to me is unacceptable.
Yeah.
But it happens far too often, and that's a crying shame because you can't stop them.
Yeah. It's just, and this is something that, a lot of us don't consider that you have to deal with in your offices. You have to see and talk about the things all of us want to act like don't happen. You have to, because it doesn't get prosecuted if you don't know about it. So to know about it, you have to see it, you have to talk about it, you have to live it. And just, I can't imagine the internal toll it has to take. You have to give that up in prayer, I'm guessing, because it could weigh, it could weigh heavy on a person.
Often, and thank God I've got a mother who spends a whole lot of time talking to the good Lord because she not only got me past my adolescent years, through college, through law school, back home, married with a beautiful daughter. I've been truly blessed, but I give my mother and obviously the good Lord all the credit for that because
Yeah.
without those two, I could no telling where I would have been.
Yeah, it seems like something that would definitely weigh heavy on a person. So with that thought, and then coming into this race, and I don't even know when it officially starts. What's the filing deadline? December or something?
Yeah, it's like the middle of November through the 1st of December.
And then I guess it'll basically happen through the primary is when and how this goes. Well, so going forward, what do you want people to know about you? And now, like I said, you got 15 years of we can look at it and say, hey, this is what's happened here. But what's something that we want to make sure people know just to understand going forward?
Well, I've been blessed with a keen insight into human behavior. I've always considered myself a pretty good judge of character. I
Right.
can review a lot of these files, but I have not been my judgment hadn't been so clouded that I prejudge these individuals. I do realize that there are some people that honestly won't help. I don't mind trying to give them a hand up
Right.
instead of a handout. I don't mind trying to give them the opportunities to help themselves, whether it's through drug treatment, whether it's through one of the Job Corps programs that are offered here locally. Um, we as professional prosecutors hear things that people shouldn't have to hear.
Right.
We see things that can't be unheard. I still, sometimes, or not sometimes, but most of the time when I close my eyes, I can remember the first infant death case that I had to track. And it's horrific, those images that we basically try to shield the public from. So the public, a lot of times, don't have any idea about the dark side or what's actually going on behind the curtain. That's one thing I enjoy about grand jury. These people come in thinking, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to listen to this for 6 months. But so far, since I've been DA, everybody, once their service is over, they're curious to when they can do it again.
They want to come back.
They want to come back. They're shocked and disturbed by the amount of crime occurring in Bowie County for such a relatively small population. But they're also thankful that they're part of they feel the solution. We're trying to clean up the streets, as it were, and I'm proud of every single one of them.
Yeah. Well, and like I said, it's just a heavy toll that it takes. Thank God for you in the office and for your staff to be there to do it because, like I said, this isn't something everybody wants to think about it. And even it was a lesson probably 2 years ago. I go to church on the Rock, and it was a lesson in church that I don't remember who was talking about it, but it's Ezekiel 36, and it's talking about the watcher on the wall.
Right.
And if that watcher on the wall isn't doing their job, the blood's going to be required by God from that watcher. So it's nice to have somebody that can come in here and talk about it that is the watcher that understands you're keeping the rest of us from having to think about it. We don't get to play nice because we don't know what's happening.
Most of the time, that is absolutely correct. Now, sometimes when that violence or those criminal offenses spill over into the civilian population, whether it's through, we're having a uptick in drive-bys, which to me is so offensive because these young kids who really have no value of human life
Right.
riding around with these AR pistols and just shooting up the world, and we're trying to catch them as quick as we can, but that's what scares me the most, the amount of firepower that
Right.
these young kids can actually get their hands on. We're taking them off the street as quick as we can, but unfortunately, they continue to find ways to obtain these firearms.
What a crazy world. I didn't, I'm blessed enough to live where I didn't even know that was a current issue. I missed it. Didn't even know we were dealing with that, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I reviewed a case this week where an individual, pulled up, shot up a house, shot a mother in the arm and a 10-year-old young girl in the head. Hopefully she's going to be okay.
Good.
But yeah, just the horrors that were, and I say we because believe me, it's not just me. The district attorney's office is a group of individuals that
Right.
come together. I've been fortunate, the county's been fortunate to actually have a group of individuals, both, in the receptionist area, the court administration area, the individuals that prepare dockets, the investigators, the ADAs themselves that tirelessly uh, try to work towards protecting these people.
Right.
I like to think that I'm the wall in the darkness or the voice for the voiceless. You know, the criminal justice system is confusing enough to somebody like me that's been doing it, I've got over 21 years in just the criminal justice system.
Right.
And it's confusing enough to me, and every time I think I've learned the procedure or learned the law, those guys down and also change it up completely. So I've got to relearn these
Yeah.
things. And so I can imagine how difficult and anxious these victims and victims' families and people that don't have to be involved with it every day as their job. You know, I see thousands of cases a year, and these people have one,
Right.
and that's the most important case they have is their one. So, it's a
Yeah,
fine
that's the
balance.
most important case to them that they're ever going to do.
Yes.
While you may see thousands,
Mhm.
and if it's your family member, you want to feel like that they got the utmost attention, that this was prosecuted for whatever happened to your family member to the best of the ability of the county. And so yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
That's what I feel like a lot of times, and it doesn't compare. But in real estate transactions, now if I'm dealing with an investor and we do stuff all the time, all these things still take it seriously. But if this is somebody's first house or their last house, this is the biggest investment they're ever going to make.
Oh, you bet. And I was in the real estate business for a while. I don't know if you realize that, but mother and dad,
Right.
my mother, she's such an angel. They started Century 21 All Points Real Estate.
Oh, did they?
Yes, they did.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I had the opportunity, and it's, the Lord works in mysterious ways. I was with the DA's office from 90 to 94. I was in private practice from 97 to 2007. Well, in that time when I was in private practice, my mother's health got bad.
Okay.
Luckily for me, I was in a position where I could move my practice into their real estate office
Okay.
and take over a lot of the day-to-day management, take that burden off my father where he could take care of my mother.
Right.
My mother didn't have to be making those decisions every day. She could concentrate on her health, and by the glory of God, she regained her health.
Well, let me tell you, I see her pretty regularly at one of the meetings I go to, and what's the Patriots meeting I talk about here, and she's full of energy, buddy.
Well, I wish I could just get a 10% out of whatever her fuel reserve is, because whatever it is, it's nonstop and
Right.
it's unlimited. And I can't thank her enough for everything she's done for me in my life.
Well, yeah, that's awesome. I've interviewed thousands of people for jobs, And one thing I always looked for in a person, Jerry, was when you asked them who their hero was. I didn't need it to be Michael Jordan or Hakeem Olajuwon. If it was their mom, dad,
Oh, yeah,
grandpa,
without a doubt.
golly, that said so much about a person to me because I could read them right then that okay, we're grounded, we're based in some value that I can identify with. Now, even if I didn't know their parents, I know my parents, and I can understand why you would
Right.
want that. So that's a big deal. One thing I appreciate that you said, and I can all go back to it from my management experiences, and we kind of talked about this a little bit, but when you say you have these courts and you have these different departments, that's a lot to keep your eye on different things, not just different cases, but different cases in different courts with different employees, and then trying to mix that all together to a cohesive unit that's doing its best for the county to uphold the Constitution.
Oh yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier when I said we've been very fortunate. We're extremely lucky here in Bowie County to have for me to have been able to put the group of people together, for me
Right,
to be able to give these people the opportunity, for these people to be able to break out of whatever shell they were in coming out of law school and blossom into these litigators
right,
that pour their heart and soul into these cases. And for me to be able to, direct some of their actions in the background, for me to be able to make sure the bills are paid, make sure the lights are on,
right.
make sure that they've got the tools at their disposal to make their jobs easier, to make these victims' lives better. And I think I mentioned it earlier. I miss just having that one docket, just
Yeah,
having that one court, just going to the office and worrying about my court docket
right,
was a wholly different experience than, like you say, managing 17 to 25 people,
right.
17 to 25 different personalities,
It's key.
yeah, 17 to different types of problems.
Right.
It takes a special individual to be kind of that A-type personality to be a prosecutor.
Yeah.
And you've got to be able to manage other prosecutors, and that's where the finesse
Right, a
comes
bunch of
in.
A's together, there's
You
going to be some things kick up. One thing that you said earlier is the rehabilitation side of
right,
it. And I've got a friend, and I'm not going to give anything away here, who, made some mistakes early in life and had to be rehabbed and had to go into do a couple of years and come out through the work process. And but now, um, and I was able to visit with this person over the summer. They don't live here anymore, but has a has a great family and it has a successful life and is living
right,
what most people would think. Now I don't know if it works that way every time. Unfortunately, I don't think it does. But to see what this person became through the rehabilitation process, that and it was drugs that got this person there. But I'm so proud of that person for using the system that the law does allow and the law was set up for a way that justice was served,
right.
but this person was helped through that justice.
Well, and those programs are out there, like you said, for individuals who will take the initiative to ask for that help.
Right,
There's two types of people: those that are doing time and those that are trying to improve themselves.
right,
My mother now is volunteering out at FCI with individuals that are fixing to be paroled out, trying to give them social skills, trying to give them uh, skills that she learned in leadership Texarkana, skills that she learned in Toastmasters,
right,
skills that she learned and honed over a lifetime of helping everybody she comes into contact with. Those same programs are available at the state level. What's a blessing for me is when I see somebody that, yeah, they may have reached rock bottom and they may have known that they made mistakes, they broke the law, they're going to have to pay their debt to society, but they were afforded that opportunity while incarcerated to better themselves.
right,
And more often than not, they've come out of incarceration, reached out to me and thanked me
right.
for, not just throwing them away, not
Yeah,
just discarding them like so many other societies have done in the past. I've had quite a few people, you had mentioned the race several times. I've had quite a few ex-cons that have reached out saying, hey, look, I can't vote. I forfeited that right when you sent me to prison, but I can put up signs, I can knock on doors. If there's something I can do to help you the way that you help me, it's almost like pay it forward kind of situation. But those guys, that's the reason I do it. That and the relief that you see on a victim's face when they finally have their day in court. And justice does move slowly in a small jurisdiction like ours because of limited court space, limited staff, limited attorneys, limited. It's it's so restricted here because of the volume of criminal cases and of our district courts. I keep telling people if they would give me a dedicated criminal court, I could really whittle down these
How do you do that?
these cases.
Is that a state thing?
It has to be a state-sponsored bill has to be passed.
So we can have our listeners reach out to Van Dealer for that.
Yes,
Sponsor that legislation.
yes, we can, and
Whoever wins that race, that's going to be a race too.
yeah, and I'll gladly do whatever I can to assist. But right now, our district courts, they're split with half their time criminal, half their time civil.
Right.
So you do the 202nd Judicial District is a full-time Bowie County Court. The 102 and the 5th District Court, the 102 we share with Red River County.
Okay.
The 5th District Court we share with Cass County.
Oh,
So in reality, we've only got, one full-time, two part-time district courts. When you do the 50% civil, 50% criminal, I mean, you can see how
yeah, that's the
restricted.
backlog.
Yes, and it has, unfortunately. We went through COVID. We were one of the few counties in the state of Texas that continued to try cases during COVID, even with social distancing. We made it work.
Which I've just got to say was stupid.
Oh, without a doubt.
It didn't have anything to do with this conversation, but
The restrictions on us that were unnecessary, arbitrary. It was just people picking rules out of the air. I've had what they told me was COVID, but I think it was a variant of the flu.
yeah,
I'm not a scientist. I'm not a politician. I'm a prosecutor.
yeah.
And I manage two offices. I've got an office in the courthouse in New Boston. I've got an office here at 601 Main. We're still here.
Right.
I'm not going anywhere.
Well, and let's get into that. So we mentioned the race a few times. We mentioned that it's going to be the primary that's coming. How, if people are listening and they want more information about you or how to participate in your campaign or whatever, how do they get to you?
They can get through to me through Facebook, elect Jerry Rochelle at Facebook. They can email me at and a lot of people are going to laugh when I give this, JD Rochelle, that's ROCHELLE at AOL.com.
Yeah,
Old school. I've had that since the 90s. Well, exactly. I mean, I can't give it up. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. Or they can reach out to me on my cell phone, 903-277-9473. I like to think that I've practiced prosecution the way I practiced privately. My door's always open. No questions too small. No request is too big. You may not like the answer, but I will definitely listen to you. That's another one of my jobs as the district attorney is put out fires. And you can't prosecute aggressively in a county this small without making some enemies, without, upsetting the apple carts. And, I have to come in and try to resolve those issues. And I think I've been a really good peacemaker in those situations.
That's awesome. Well, hey man, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate your time. I know we had to, just you're so busy. We had to make it happen, and then with my schedule, but we were able to get it together, get in here, and
I can't thank
I thank you so much.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure. It's been an honor. I would like to go ahead and ask your listeners for their vote.
Yeah, go ahead.
If I don't ask, I don't know. But I have dedicated, let's say, over 21 years in public service. I have been practicing law for 35 years in Bowie County. Once I graduated, I had some job offers in some major cities outside of our little quaint county. I chose to ignore or refuse those job offers and come home.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to come
That's where you
home.
wanted to be.
Well, I love Bowie County.
Yeah.
It's in my blood.
I've moved boys 6 times and come back every time. I love you.
Well, welcome back. Hope we don't lose you again, but I can't thank you enough for it.
No, thanks for being here. All right, everybody. That's Jerry Rochelle. Go back and listen to the information how to get a hold of him. You can email or text me, and I can get it to you as well. Hope God blesses each and every one of you today.